Is the Honorable Jim Costa, Member of Congress from the 16th District of California, and you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chairman Shimkus and Ranking Member Tonko and members of this subcommittee for giving us the opportunity to testify before you on an important issue affecting the food producers of America, and for me, those in California who I have the honor and privilege to represent. I'm a strong supporter of the Farm Regulatory Certainty Act introduced by Representative Dan Newhouse and myself. We have more than 60 co-sponsors. It's a bipartisan piece of legislation. I want to thank Representative Newhouse for your work on this legislation and for asking me to be a part of this important effort. This bill would prohibit third parties from engaging in legal actions against agricultural operations that are actively working with the federal Environmental Protection Agency or a state regulator to improve the environmental compliance with whatever issue that they are dealing with in essence on their farm. We're talking about providing a peace of mind to farmers and incentivizing good environmental stewardship. Like Representative Newhouse, I am too a third-generation farmer. Growing up on my family's dairy farm taught me many redeemable skills, some that obviously could be more valuable than what we do here, but not the least of which was to care and sustain the land that we farm. Today, obviously, I have that honor and privilege to represent those farmers, those dairymen and women who make up the backbone of the San Joaquin Valley. California, as many of you know, is the country's largest agricultural state. Last year, it was over $45 billion at the farm gate, an abundance that includes over 400 commodities. We've been blessed with over a third of the nation's vegetables, 2/3 of the nation's fruits and nuts. Let's go light on the latter part there. But we do produce 70% of the world's almonds and 50% of the world's pistachios, and the list goes on. In 2016, the value of California's dairy production was over $6 billion. And the district I have the honor to represent is the third largest producer of milk in the entire country. This is all achieved while complying under some of the most rigorous environmental regulations in the world, not just what we have on the federal level, but California, I might add, I think sets the highest bar as it relates to a state regulatory environment. For agriculture to be successful then for our local communities, the environment, obviously, we want it to be healthy and safe. That is why both surface and groundwater contamination is taken so seriously on our water in California. Because farmers are reliant on the environment with which they farm, they are active in regional efforts in California to address nitrate and salinity issues that are occurring in various parts of California's Central Valley. The State Water Resource Control Board, the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board, the environmental communities, numerous municipalities, agricultural water districts, and many others are also engaged in the actions to protect this precious source, our water. But California also has a long history of working with regulators to address environmental concerns. This legislation, as the author noted, would not change that relationship at all. The bill before us today, the Farm Regulatory Certainty Act, was developed out of fear that many producers in my state have with litigation brought upon them by third parties. And this isn't something that is anecdotal, but this is something that unfortunately happens with some regularity. Similar to the situation in Representative Newhouse's state, dairymen and ranchers have found themselves in situations where complying with environmental regulations and acting in good faith have placed them in legal jeopardy, and that's just not right. The Farm Regulatory Certainty Act will produce and foster a spirit of collaboration, we believe, that incentivizes agricultural producers to comply with environmental laws and regulations. A farmer acting in good faith to improve their environmental stewardship should not be targeted by litigation while they are cooperatively working to fix the problems and improve their operations. I mean, let's realize that for those of us who have grown up on the farm and are still farming, farmers depend upon their land for their livelihoods. They are good stewards of the environment. If it's not sustainable through one generation to the next generation, guess what? You can't live off that land. That's just the reality. It makes no sense to think that they would believe otherwise. Let us give them the certainty, therefore, and necessary to comply with the regulations put in place by state and federal authorities. The common sense legislation that you have before you would go a long ways to improve both the environment and allow farmers to continue to provide an abundant, healthy, affordable food for our nation and for the world. Nobody does it better than the American farmer. Less than 3% of our nation's population is directly involved in the production of food and fiber. And it's an amazing thing, so much so that I think the majority of Americans take it for granted. They think their food comes from a grocery store. It doesn't. It comes from the farms. So thank you very much, and I'll yield back.